And we're going to keep talking about the economy because it's stressing all of us out. And when it comes to the economy, there's a big question. Are we in a recession or are we not? Well, economic experts, they can debate this all day long. But for consumers, there's one thing we need to know. Right now, it is hard to afford gas, groceries, a mortgage, rent payments, a working rate, and with a working wage, recession or not, prices are going up and people are feeling the pressures to stay afloat financially. This is something you all probably feel. And according to data gathered by Morning Consult in their State of Consumer Banking Payments Research, almost half, or about 45% of millennials, which are people born between 81 and 96, agree that they feel like they have the things that they want in life and they don't have those things because of their money situation. And 38% frequently feel like they are behind on their finances. And this kind of financial insecurity doesn't just impact your wallet, it can also impact, right here, your mental health, your well-being. And so that's what we want to focus on right now. So let's bring in Dr. Lisa Palmer, psychotherapist and founder of the Renew Center of Florida. Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and have this conversation. How are you doing today?
Great, and yourself?
I am doing good, and I'm glad to talk to you. So I want to know, I am a part of this millennial generation who feels this kind of constraint. So how is what our generation is dealing with comparing to generations of past?
Well, what I'm seeing is a huge mess amongst millennials, to be honest with you. They're having a really hard time keeping up with the social pressures that they're seeing on social media and the rising cost of gas, the cost of living. It's putting a ton of pressure on them and creating a lot of anxiety, depression, mood instability, which then, of course, is causing many of them to try to turn to addictions, self-medicating, and some get-rich-quick schemes.
Which is not what we should be doing because generations before us didn't have to deal with, of course, like you said, the pressures that we saw on social media. So what is the best way for millennials, Gen Z, to take care of their mental health when it comes to money stresses?
Well, I always promote balance for myself or anyone really, but especially with millennials these days to really focus on what's going on within them and really focusing on self-worth, core belief systems, feeling good about themselves, doing the things that are positive that make them feel good about themselves. And, a lot of millennials are turning to these get-rich-quick schemes, but get-rich-quick helps you to stay poor longer. So you have to look at the long game and not the short term. I see that a lot of millennials aren't really looking at the long-term effects of some of their behaviors, and that's really going to have a huge effect on their mental health, their physical health. A lot of times they're just looking at instant gratification, and they really need to stop that to focus on, yes, you need to be in the present and the here and now, but at the same time in a positive way and do mindfulness and learn positive coping skills and not be so much in a rush, take one day at a time and be positive every day and just do a little a day instead of trying to have these huge high expectations that are just over and beyond what most millennials can actually achieve.
If someone is centering on themselves and they're focused on their mental health and their well-being and they need to get help and they are stressed about money, so they don't necessarily have money to go to someone per se, are there resources that these individuals can take part in or look up?
That's a really great question. And a lot of millennials, like you said, don't actually have the money to afford really great therapy if their parents can't help them. Believe it or not, even on YouTube, you can find videos of mindfulness or apps. There are mindfulness apps. I'm actually coming out with a self-help app called RenewMe pretty soon. And there are apps like that you can turn to that will really help you to become more mindful. There's also some coaches, on YouTube where you can learn manifestation techniques and just how to increase your own positivity. There's a lot of free resources out there where you can access through technology. And if we can access technology in a positive way, that's great. So I think a lot of millennials should really look into that and utilize that, for their self-growth.
So this is something that also applies to me. So I'm going to ask you, kind of in my own space, but also for those who might be feeling this way too. If you are someone who might be stressed about money and it is a stressful time, and what are kind of some of the things that outside of focusing on money that we can do and have control over ourselves right now versus worrying about the future?
Well, wealth, what is wealth? It's actually your wealth is from within. You can have all the money in the world and be unhappy, and that can happen at any age. So I really go back to happiness, and there isn't a path to happiness. Happiness is the path. And that happiness has to be formed from within yourself, and that self-love affirmations, knowing that you're worth it, doing the homework at night, like having a ritual every night or every morning when you wake up where you're working on affirmations, where you're playing affirmations in the background of music background, and being thankful and being grateful. And all of this has to do with brain reprogramming and helping your brain to learn to accept compliments and things like that that seem like really simple things but add up long term to something really positive for yourself and helps you to like live better and be better in life.
Right. It kind of goes back to that old saying that money doesn't buy happiness. It really does come from within yourself. So Dr. Lisa Palmer, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on the show.